oceans of love, oceans of love. Hey, hey, love is on the way. Rivers of love, seas of love. Lost in the weight of the tail of the world, yet in the heart of everyone.
Folks, welcome to the Jake Feinberg Show, and joined here at 191 Toole by, what a character, Farmer Dave Scher. Welcome back, brother.
Hello Tucson and everybody all over the world.
Farmer, your message there was love will win. Why will love win? Seriously.
It's gonna win.
Okay, so it's in the future.
Well, will and gonna, I think that there's a certain feeling of
Project your voice up.
Embattlement, but at the
what does
end
that
of
mean,
the day, you can't see the outcome when you're in the middle of it, but it's coming. A lot of times the things you really hope for at the level of the heart are on their way to you right when you're not seeing it and needing it the most. So this one is kind of based on people who you go surfing and you see the wave coming, you say it's outside, you're gonna have to paddle out to it. But I think the cavalry, we are the cavalry.
Well, I just want you to talk about if you're able to get out of your own way when you're on tour the most, like with Cass.
Well,
when you're really able to, like, because you were talking about locking in. Like, can you lock in when you're on tour with people like Cass?
That's actually the easiest part is, when you're playing someone's music and you help serve the tunes, it's easier to get out of your own way to serve the material. It's how you treat yourself the other 23 hours of the day that can be a little tricky on the road. Those times when you're playing, Cass is, I'm here because I believe in him, and he's one of my favorite writers, absolutely. Cass and two of the guys, Cass and Kurt Vile, for me, are people who've influenced me and who I've worked with in recent times. And so me playing these songs is a relatively new thing. The tune that I just played hasn't come out yet. It should be out next year. So for me, this is there's been a lot of changes lately.
Yeah.
And I really think that the part of each of us inside that is sacred is expanding, and we'll have our own platform soon that's more in alignment with what we would want our children to see when they look at the world that we're in. You know, I think that it's a process that's happening. So if I say love is gonna win, maybe it already wins in millions and trillions of ways every day. But in the big picture, you know, the story you see on your phone, you're like, oh man, is that really this is our times, man? I honestly think that the natural response to it is a natural thing that rises up, that at the level of the heart, each of us knows what's right for us and our families, and the peace that we wish for everybody all over the world is on its way when we want it. And sort of like a pilot light, one person at a time will find their way to the truth at the level of the heart, and they'll hold that space for the rest and not attack them if they don't know yet, you know. It's sort of like waking up. If you're asleep, I say, hey man, I'm not gonna poke him with a hot stick. You're awake, what can we do? And let's, you know, help this fellow out.
Right.
Hopefully the person who's asleep isn't signing some backhanded deals to give away all of our natural land, because that kind of unconscious is the worst.
No, let me ask you a question. You said something at Neely's, which, by the way, that was the nickname that I got from you, at the Cap Theater. You talked about Music Cares.
In Portchester, yeah.
Portchester. What did Music Cares do for you?
It's actually like, I get choked up.
Just project out. I want people to hear your voice. Yeah.
Well, I get choked up about
That's all right,
that
man.
subject.
You know, we're here, man. We're Doc.
But I just think that, like a lot of people, but I'm a musician, and we can be at risk for health issues. And I wasn't able to get out of my own way, as you say, but I needed their help, and I got it. You could say they saved my life.
What was the most? What's the thing you hang on to the most that you took from that whole experience? What can you still hang on to that centers you when you are in those 23 hours of the day?
That so many of us are going through it, and we're not alone, and it can be really hard. I've been having a lot of laughs, but just the basic reality, it's been a tough few years for a lot of us. And so the idea of speaking out, getting help, not letting our friends like Neil Casal, who we lost, not letting that just continue. Because just in the music world, just all around us, a lot of us are make do with not really being that okay. And
That's
it's
right.
something that it's time to heal as a community, and especially why I like talking to you is I know that the fans of the kind of music we both are involved in and care about are so powerful in this. They bring so much to the table that I think it's a time to see what the true nature of family is, because the performer and the families and the listeners are all in relationship with the music that comes through. I know that when the audience and the fans are really dialed in, I don't have to play almost. It plays through me, and that's such a beautiful thing.
That's collective consciousness.
It is, and that's something that it's probably been around forever. Anytime a tribe has gotten together and done their thing, but for us, especially the world of the Grateful Dead, with such an influence from that generation to ours, that it's a torch that is beautiful to carry. And I really think, just to circle back on music here,
because you got emotional. You didn't go into. I mean, I'm just trying to say that. You know,
Neely,
Neely.
I don't think I can actually explain what happened to me, except that.
Right. It saved you.
Yeah, I was not able to be okay, and not able to tell anybody around me. I couldn't break through to tell them I was in trouble, and Music Cares was right on it. I got some really good some good people, and they encouraged me then to tell my friends and family the truth of what was happening. Because you want to be cool cat. You don't want to break the ice and, you know, like screaming out for help. Sometimes it's easier just to compartmentalize it and go about being Mr. Cool or whatever it is you got to do. And as we found out lately, that just don't cut it.
Well, no, because I interviewed Justin Kreutzmann. He said that he was getting these texts from Neil like, hey man, I'm barely keeping my head above water. And Justin didn't register with him like, oh, I need to go up and hang with him and make sure he's all right. How was your closure with Neely?
I'm at peace with what happened. I'm regretful. I honestly, it blows me away sometimes that it's even real.
Right.
And I have been focused on our community because
Good
it's
for
sort
you.
of like
You already were before, for that matter, but now there's an extra.
yeah, because he was such a force in our world. He brought a lot of strength and a lot of light, and there's people who were hit harder than me in some ways, or let's put it this way, we took turns. Like sometimes I would just be gutted, and sometimes I feel like just back to normal, and then I see somebody over there and they're just crying. We're still in the thick of it's a grieving, collective grieving that we're still coming through.
Do you believe that the my message from Neil was that every one of his peers and buddies like you, and I told you this at his tribute concert in LA, was that they just need to keep pushing themselves into uncomfortable territory musically
Yes.
to grow. And I want you to riff on that. That to me, him leaving was, like you said, he was a light of shine. He said, who else is a light? Bring the light together.
Yeah.
Okay, I hate to say that, but I'm just saying, talk about pushing yourself out into uncomfortable territory as it relates to music, to grow.
I think that's a great idea. Clearly a difference between what we were talking about of feeling safe mentally and
That's
emotionally.
right.
But on stage, the adrenaline of performance, the adrenaline of trying something that you haven't played a million times, that's sort of what a lot of the true heads expect. Their favorite bands are tightroping all day, baby.
Every day. They don't ever play the same song the same way once, man.
No, and I'm all for that. Honestly, it's also a thing where a touring band, that's where that really gets cooking, because you have night after night with your peers to expand those ideas. But I do think that sort of like that, like Bill Murray, Groundhog Day, fall down 7 times, stand up 8, and on day-to-day lives,
Stand up 8 to go to the next one. That's right.
we should try what he's saying in all facets of life. Like, there's that girl you've been afraid to go talk to. Go up and talk to her.
Right.
Sort of like the Samwise Gamgee at the end of The Hobbit. He's finally ready to just go up and talk to that bar maiden, and they end up getting married. But in the beginning, he's like staring at her like, oh man, I couldn't do it. Just do it.
Just do it.
But do something positive and fun. Don't do something too creepy.
What was your? Did you meet Darren Rademacher first, or did you meet Brent and Chris?
Well, Chris and I knew each other first from school.
From Loyola Marymount?
Yeah, and from KXLU.
Okay, so you guys were DJs? Because I would slip my wrist if I was a DJ. I want to be
it was the most amazing time. It was a really cool thing. Unfortunately for us, the Rademacher brothers, for what we were into, Further was the coolest band.
Oh, dude, I missed the boat on that.
It was insane. But then, right when they were already kind of the coolest, they sounded like our favorite bands from England and Dinosaur Jr. from the East Coast, and they even knew those guys a little bit.
Right.
So, but then
same orbit.
But then, just like us, we were playing all the new super underground and super amazing kind of indie rock and 7-inch records. But we started getting into 60s and psych and Americana and the Byrds, which you weren't really supposed to play. On the radio, we kind of started getting in trouble for that. Because you're supposed to be playing these young bands that are coming up. It's fair. It was a fair assessment.
Wait a minute. You couldn't. How are they?
Yeah.
You got to know where you're from to know where you're going.
It's true. And I think at the end of the day...
It was psychedelic. They didn't like it.
No, it wasn't that. It was just, they actually were... They were holding a good standard. But my point is, the guys in Further started playing music that was kind of, sounded like West Coast, super freaky 60s influenced music.
Wow.
And at that point, I was like, now they're the coolest band 10 times over. And then next thing you know, Chris Gunn started playing in Further. So that was like the doors of Jabberjaw opened in a different way, which was the coolest club at the time. Seeing some amazing shows over at Jabberjaw in LA. A lot of bands.
It's defunct now? It's not there?
Oh, yeah, that hasn't been around, man. But anyways, I knew Brent first.
Because you knew Brent first, because Chris was like, when you would take a 4-track over to his place, he thought it was the coolest thing that you had actually written out the chord changes and the melodies to the tune.
Yeah.
He thought it was something that had to be done in sort of a collective space, but here you are bringing the sort of the skeleton of the tune through the melodies in Farmer's head, dude. Black Dirt Live Again.
Yeah, this brain of mine's got a mind of its own.
It does. There's a brain inside the brain,
dude.
dude.
It's chirping away. It's like a radio signal, spirit stereo, and hopefully be a good steward or whatever I can. But the thing that was cool is I didn't meet Darren for a while, and when I finally did meet him, he had just spent a week in Barbados, so he kind of looked like Crazy from the Heat, Eat 'em and Smile, David Lee Roth. Like he had the beach hair and the tan.
David
like,
Lee, man.
Now this dude is cool, and Darren he's such a sweet dude, man. Like we've been friends through a lot of channels for a long way, and he keeps coming up aces. Everything he does next, even this, he's in a beautiful marriage. He's cruising around France, and it's like, Viva D-Rad, that's my boy.
Before I let you go, they got the ice maker going. I just want
It
to.
smells of grilled cheese.
It's grilled cheese and macaroni and cheese, and then the. What was your?
Tucson is rad, by the way. If you all haven't been to Tucson, I'm digging this town. Did you see the festival?
I don't even know what you did all day. What did you
There's
do
the
all day?
Get to Know Yourself Tucson Festival.
Yeah, no, I'm.
So there's
Yeah.
people in like traditional clothes of like all these cultures dancing and playing music. It's just an amazing vibe over here.
Well, Farmer, what was your first musical experience with Neil Casal?
It would have been, I think, whenever he came to do the Crows opening with us on the Black Crows tour.
You guys didn't rehearse, or that?
I have no memory. I just remember we were getting into some freaky times. Like it was a really good time, and it was also.
What was
like,
freaky about it?
Just that we
Stardom?
Well, I think that Chris Robinson, he saw us. Him and I, like, I love him. He's my family.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, I knew him first as this mega kind of a character in my life. He was mega. But he really understood Beach and Sparks in a way where it was like, he almost, getting us on a tour like that, it was a different world. And so, it was so exciting. And Neil and I we played in like 4 or 5 different projects since, but that first tour, like, I said, this dude is the sweetest dude. And he's just, the way he carried himself, and we had a great time. I think you've probably heard from other people that we were all meant to play the Greek Theater on 9/11, and then we kept touring. We actually made it through, like, Shiprock, New Mexico the next day, and we made it to New York on the 20th of September. And the Beacon shows were one of the first things that had started up again in the city. There hadn't been concerts for that week, or
Right. It was and the downtown was totally shut down.
yeah. So the world at that time, it was really sad, but at the same time, I was still 20, this or that, and it was an adventure. You know, the world was what it was, but the Beach of Sparks had a good heart message with that Once We Were Trees record that I think was a good thing to go play, and we felt like we could believe in it and put it out there at that time. And Neil, the fact that he'd come from so many other worlds, as we found out at the Capitol Theater, like, I couldn't believe the people I met. And
Who were you blown away by, or that you didn't know he had collaborated with?
Oh man, I'm afraid I can't on the spot the names, but there was like 30 or 40 of us
Yeah.
all.
Right. No, it was a head scene. There's a lot of your peers, but yeah, no, I mean, like Steve Earle and people like that.
Yeah. The drummer from Def Leppard was there, which was so rad. That dude was sick. But there was a lot of people there, and it was super, super touching. But something happened where, for all of his journeys and things he had to say, what we were doing meant something to him. And sometimes if someone believes in what you're doing, it changes what you're able to go. Like, your love's taking me higher. We went further because of Neil Casal's. He really believed what we were doing, and that it made it legitimate in a way where that's why we stayed friends for 20 years, man. Like, was friends with Neil. I'm still friends with Neil, you know?
He's still with us, and
yeah.
that's what I try to get across to people is that, you know, even though, I mean, quite honestly, I met him for the first time last year personally. He was a musical focal point on my journalistic career. So it's been a little bit of a scrambled eggs thing to sort of reconnect, but knowing that he spawned all these different groups, or was collaborative with all these different groups, Beechwood, Skiffle, Cats, all this stuff, those are the cats now that have to go. They have to carry the torch. And you know, I know you know this, and I really, I thank you for promoting our species. I thank you for promoting humanity and doing it through vibration, you know? I used to say, yo, we got to raise the vibrations. And they're like, yo, Jake, there's one vibration, dude. You got to raise frequencies. So that's what I'm going to continue to do, Farmer. Much love to you, brother.
Yeah, all right. Jake Feinberg and everybody watching and listening, there's just much love to you. We all make this world go around, and we're the dreamers of the dream.
Peace
I
out.
think it's coming. I think that you're going to see... We're going to flower with our message of love for future generations. They'll know that we weren't sitting on our hands while the dice were heavy. We're going to find more ways to use our voices and promote and be a part of an expansion of the love that's possible in our societies.
Expand consciousness in your world. Farmer Dave Scher. Love always.
Yeah.
Jake Feinberg Show. We'll be seeing you later.